Regiojet has been touted as one of the best value for money train companies in Europe, from excellent amenities and offerings to nice, spacious, comfortable seating and flexible travel plans, all for very affordable prices. Watch today as I take one of their premier routes from Prague across Czechia to the capital city of Austria, Vienna. Enjoy. Good afternoon from Prague. I really had no expectations when deciding on visiting here, but I'm very glad I did. From amazing history, sights, food and cafes, not to mention good beer too, which was definitely needed during the midst of a European heat wave. On this route from Prague to Vienna, the two main train operators are the local Czechian Regiojet or the Austrian OBB. I went with Regiojet as it had somewhat similar offerings for a fraction of what the OBB price was. Most long distance trains depart from the main station here in Prague, which I'm not even gonna bother to pronounce. This can be easily accessed by the local tram network. The station can be dated back to 1871, while the main entrance here was rebuilt in 2011, or at least that's what Wikipedia says. At least I'm being honest about my ignorance. But anyways, there's lots of shops and fast food outlets to choose from here, including a ticketing office from the main railway operator Czechia, Česká, or at least I'm saying that right. There's an amazing Lego display of the original train station hall. After admiring the detail behind it, how about we actually check out the real deal, which is absolutely beautiful. After combing around the station, I found that Regiojet actually has a lounge here available for all ticketed passengers, regardless of what class you're seated in. This lounge is available 1 hour prior to departure, and this is enforced by scanning your ticket into the lounge. It's a decent place to wait in versus the main hall, but as you can see, it gets easily overcrowded. Besides their usual coffee, tea, and water, they have soft serve ice cream available, which was definitely needed during this heat wave. I couldn't find a single seat available, so I was in the standing room enjoying my orange vanilla twist. That's okay, as the seat I'm traveling in today is very generous. While walking to the platform, let me break down how much I paid for this 4-hour journey. I originally paid €21.90 for my ticket in a relaxed seat, but changed to an earlier departure for a total fare price of €32.90. Regiojet has one of the best cancellation and rebooking policies I've ever came across. You can cancel or rebook your trip up to 15 minutes before departure time. That's crazy good. You just pay the difference in price. Did I also forget to mention that a reserved seat selection is included too? This is excellent value for money. Although last minute tickets are sold for over €50 depending on how full the train is. But anyways, our local hauled train set is being powered by a CT train Siemens Vectron named Maggie after a little dash hound. Regiojet uses the older UIC carriages, which you'll still find with operators such as Flixtrain and Nightjet. I couldn't really find a solid answer about CT train, and more specifically Maggie, but it sounds like it's owned by the national operator Česká. I'll go over the specific classes later, as there is actually 4 of them on this train today. But I'd like to point out business, which is labeled as first class, in a 2x2 layout in a smaller cabin. Yes, this is shared with other passengers and is not private, but if you don't feel like staring at someone across a table from you and you still want some comfort, well, a relaxed seat should be more of your cup of tea, as is mine. Funny enough, this is actually labeled as a second class seat despite it being laid in a 2x1 layout. I'll go over the seat once when I'm settled in, but for now, it's time to say goodbye to the amazing city of Prague, as we leave just a couple minutes behind schedule. Regiojet Relax Class offers what you'd typically find in a standard European first class seat. Nice, wide and spacious, decent sized seat back pocket, a large tray table with a device holder, and a 240 volt Euro power socket. Everything you'd want from a first class seat, and considering how much you might be paying on either Deutsche Bahn or OBB, this is certainly not bad at all. There's full service in this car where complimentary bottles of water are handed out. You can also ask the attendant for any meals you might want to purchase during the journey. As for myself, I had a really big brunch before heading off to the train station, and I wasn't too sure on how I felt about train sushi or poke bowls, so I passed up and decided on saving my appetite for dinner. Although there's some great affordable offerings available, and I really wouldn't hesitate to purchase them. We hit our near top speed of 140 kilometers, although I'm fairly confident that these local hauled coaches can reach 160 kilometers per hour. That being said, those speeds are somewhat short-lived, but are intermittent, and we reach 150 kilometers at certain sections. Speaking of not the greatest speeds, Wi-Fi is free for all passengers, but it's nothing to cry home about. I'm just happy that it's there to begin with. I can only describe traveling through the countryside of Czechia as not very interesting, to say the least. I could really only equate this to Saskatchewan in Canada, but a bit more hilly. The toilets are somewhat old as with the carriages, but it was kept clean, water was working fine, and the flower was a nice touch. When I got back to my seat, the car attendants were handing out Garnier samples as part of an advertisement deal. Looks like something you get in a delivery newspaper many years ago. As we pulled in the Pardubice, it became more apparent that how warm this carriage was. I passed out for about 90 minutes or so, and when I woke up I was almost in a borderline sweat. Just uncomfortably warm, to put it at best. I noticed the air conditioning was kicking on and off and couldn't get properly cold. Like, honestly, it was hovering around 30 degrees Celsius inside. Initially, I just passed it off as stereotypical bad European air conditioning. As we leave Brno, the home of Regiojet, we are getting ever so much closer to the Austrian border. This was a bit of relief knowing that we'd all get off this boiler train soon, although this was continuing on to Budapest. And with that, we're officially in Austria with little fanfare, just a shed and a marker. Seeing as there was still time to kill, I went to explore the other classes on the train. This is standard class with, you guessed it, a standard 2x2 configuration. Although this is a first for me in Europe, these have seat back entertainment. But most people weren't using them or they weren't working properly. Just a good charging point from what it looked like. There are also large racks for bigger suitcases. Finally, low cost is just a standard seat, but more than acceptable. The one very noticeable thing I came across in all the other carriages, working air conditioning. I wouldn't call it the greatest, your typical European air conditioning, which is not very cool at all, but not a complete sweatbox in comparison to where I was sitting. I say these complaints are somewhat nitpicky, but these are just the typical symptoms that everyone comes across traveling in the summer. Crowded areas, everyone's hot, the complaints list just goes on forever. Overused broken equipment is common in not only the rail industry, but also in the airline industry, which I've witnessed firsthand countless times. You can even look at DB as a prime example, although I might be wrong and I definitely ruffled a few feathers there. Lastly, I think the lounge should be exclusive to business and relaxed passengers. If anyone else wants to enter, you could just charge an additional fee for everyone else. Besides all that, I personally think that Regiojet offers a fantastic product, not just executed that well. The ride quality during the whole trip was really good, and it's most certainly the best value for money I've ever came across in my travels. I would definitely not hesitate to travel with them again. But as we pull in the Weinhauptbahnhof, this trip has came to an end for now. I'd like to thank you all for watching. If you feel like supporting my channel, feel free to drop a like and subscribe. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.